Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready to dive deep with us again?
Always excited to dig into some fascinating history.
Today we're taking a closer look at the Plymouth colony. You know the one? Founded in 1620. We're going beyond the Thanksgiving story, though.
Definitely beyond the turkey and stuffing.
Exactly. We'll be drawing on America's pilgrimage, the founding of Plymouth colony in 1620, to uncover the real story. This one's all about perseverance and, wow, where there's some unexpected twists and turns.
It's a story that still resonates with American culture today, even though it happened centuries ago.
Buckle up, because this deep dive is going to be a wild ride.
Well, maybe not literally wild, but definitely an eye-opener.
So let's set the stage. Think back to England in the 1600s. The Pilgrims, those were our main characters, were facing some serious religious restrictions. I mean, can you imagine feeling like your beliefs are so different from the norm that you decide to leave everything you know?
Yeah, talk about a culture clash.
And not just like moving to a new town, we're talking about crossing an entire ocean to a land they knew almost nothing about.
They were basically stepping into the unknown, which takes a whole lot of courage and maybe a little bit of crazy.
I mean, think about the commitment. They were leaving behind their homes, families, everything familiar. That's a giant leap of faith.
And then there's the voyage itself. Remember the Mayflower?
Oh, yeah, that iconic ship.
We kind of romanticize it now, but let's be real for a second.
Okay, let's go. Let's see.
102 people crammed onto a merchant ship, not a luxury cruise liner, for 66 days, that's over 2 months, at sea.
Oh, my goodness.
No thanks. I can't even imagine. Storms, seasickness, cramped conditions. I mean, the smell alone.
Definitely puts my delayed flight complaints into perspective.
Right. You think you've got travel woes, try crossing the Atlantic in the 1600s.
And to top it off, they missed their mark. They were aiming for Virginia, but ended up in Massachusetts. Navigation back then, not exactly a walk in the park, huh?
Talk about a detour. But that little oops had some major consequences. Landing outside of their intended jurisdiction meant they had to set up their own government.
Wait, so like they were just making it up as they went along?
Pretty much. And that act of self-reliance, that need to create their own rules became, well, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no kidding, you don't say.
It laid the groundwork for the whole idea of American democracy, self-governance, the whole shebang. It's pretty mind-blowing to think that a navigational error had such a huge impact on history.
Talk about a ripple effect. Okay, so they land, they're figuring out this whole government thing, enter the Mayflower Compact, right?
Right. The Mayflower Compact, signed in 1620, this document was way ahead of its time.
So it wasn't just like, okay, here are the rules, everybody follow them.
Not at all. It was a revolutionary document outlining principles of self-rule and cooperation. They were actually choosing to govern themselves.
Wow, they really were pioneers.
Yeah.
So they have the Mayflower Compact, but then winter hits. And we're not talking about your average winter here.
Oh, no. This was brutal. Freezing temperatures, disease spreading like wildfire, and food, well, let's just say there wasn't enough to go around.
I can't even imagine how difficult that must have been.
It was devastating. Sadly, almost half of the settlers died that first winter.
It makes you wonder how the remaining colonists found the strength to keep going after such immense loss.
Survival was a daily battle. Sheer determination and resilience played a huge part. But they weren't alone in their struggles. The Wampanoag, the indigenous people who already lived in the region, played a crucial role in the Pilgrims' survival.
This is where the story takes another interesting turn. And this is where Squanto steps in. Now, Squanto's story is pretty incredible in its own right. He had been captured and taken to Europe before eventually finding his way back to North America.
Talk about an odyssey.
Right? He actually spoke English, which was essential for communication between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag.
He became this bridge between two very different cultures. And not only could he communicate, but he had crucial knowledge about the land.
He basically taught them how to survive.
Right. Exactly. Things like how to cultivate corn, which was a completely foreign concept to the Pilgrims. These agricultural techniques weren't just a one-time lesson. They were adopted and adapted, shaping the colony's agricultural practices.
It's fascinating how these techniques, born out of necessity and shared across cultures, helped shape the colony's future.
Definitely a testament to the importance of cultural exchange.
Okay, we can't talk about the Pilgrims without mentioning the first Thanksgiving in 1621. I mean, it's become such an iconic part of American tradition.
It's important to remember that The Thanksgiving we know today is, well, it's evolved over time.
Yeah, lots of family traditions, football, parades, all that good stuff.
Right. But at its core, it's rooted in this shared experience, the celebration of survival, and the cooperation between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag.
It's a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the power of collaboration. But it's also important to acknowledge that the legacy of this event and the relationship between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag is a complex one. Historical records show us a much more intricate story with different perspectives on the power dynamics and cultural clashes of the time.
It's a good reminder that history isn't always black and white. There are nuances and different perspectives to consider.
So to wrap things up, the Pilgrim's journey wasn't just about religious freedom. It was about resilience, adaptability, and forging a new path in the face of overwhelming odds. It was about navigating uncharted territory, both physically and culturally.
Their story makes you think, doesn't it? How does their experience, their struggles and triumphs resonate with our own lives today? What can we learn from them as we face our own challenges and strive to create a better future?
Those are great questions to ponder. And on that note, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the Plymouth colony. We hope you learned something new, gained a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in history, and maybe even left with a few things to think about. Until next time.
See you then.